So we're live on YouTube. Try to go live on Facebook. And Facebook has been giving us troubles. We're already live on YouTube. We'll see if Facebook is going to cooperate today. Yep, and we're live on Facebook too. So, welcome everyone to our live podcast today, 12:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We have a very exciting topic today. We're going to talk about biofeedback and frequency therapies. And our special guest today is Casey Conrad. Casey, where are you calling in from today?
I'm calling in from the beautiful state of Rhode Island.
Rhode Island, all the way up there, guys. We're really in Florida, but it has been storming and raining too. But I guess we needed it, Casey. Let me introduce Casey before we get started. Casey Conrad has been in the health and fitness wellness industry for over 35 years. She looks young, doesn't she? She owned her own company for over 30 years, and that company has been growing and evolved, pretty steadily over that time period. And that's mostly because I know her passion for wellness. She has also owned and operated over 122 clinics, franchise locations for weight loss. Was that the Healthy Inspirations, Casey?
Exactly.
I remembered that, but Tasso and Bodies were very busy and very successful with that program. She also has written 7 books. We'll talk a little bit about that later. She has been a speaker in over 24 countries. That's more than me, Casey. Now I'm jealous.
Wow.
And she has written for a numerous amount of international magazines also. She has been involved in the bioenergy medicine for over 10 years now. And she's also a certified biofeedback practitioner. She's also currently the Northeast Regional Director of Beamer USA. We'll talk about the Beamer a little bit today also. And she has her own energy wellness center in Rhode Island, correct?
That's right here in Wakefield.
All right, Wakefield, Rhode Island. Now, Casey, before we get started, tell a little bit about yourself, where you grew up, your family, those types of things.
Sure. Well, I grew up right here in the same town that I live in now. My dad is a surgeon. My mom still is a nurse, although she's not practicing. She is retired.
Mm-hmm.
I've always been an athlete. I was the first girl in Rhode Island to play boys Little League and fought for that right. And went to my undergraduate in international service and business at the American University. I was actually at Quinnipiac for 2 years. I was such a bad student, I had to go somewhere first. And then I got my act together. And then later, almost, 7 years after I started my own business consulting company, I went back to night school and became an attorney.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
You got your license?
Yeah, so I lived in D.C. for 6 years and enjoyed that, but been back here in Rhode Island since 1991. I love to be outdoors. I love to RV.
Uh-huh.
And I have an awesome chocolate lab named Bear, who is just the best companion. A lot easier than keeping a boyfriend.
Yeah, well, tell me about it. No, those dogs are unconditional love, and they don't judge you ever, do they?
Exactly.
Yes. Now, we're here to talk about biofeedback. So explain to our viewers what biofeedback is.
Well, biofeedback is a global term, if you would, that basically says you and I are energetic beings, right? We're electrical at our most fundamental level. And any type of biofeedback is when something is placed on the body and it gives off or reads some sort of information, and that information is transformed into some kind of score, if you would.
Yeah.
For example, EKG is a form of biofeedback. It's reading the pulse of the heart.
Sure.
An ultrasound is a biofeedback. It gets placed on the tissue of the body, typically the belly of a pregnant woman.
Yeah.
And that image, that information is extracted and it's turned into an image on a screen, so you can see the baby. Or as you do, all of your stem cell stuff, you know, they did a an ultrasound on my hip when
That's
I
right.
was having that done. So it's any reading of bodily information that's then transformed into some sort of output or score. Everybody that's wearing a Fitbit,
Yeah.
that's a form of biofeedback. It's telling you how many steps you took, what your heart rate is, how much you slept, all of these things. So it's a very global term.
Sure.
It's been around for a very long time.
And it's everywhere now, like you said, even the watches on our wrist and things like that. Yeah. Now, what type of biofeedback do you use then?
Yeah, this is a very different type of biofeedback. I use a type of biofeedback called quantum biofeedback. And I'm going to just start out by saying this is going to get into what we would call a fringe conversation, meaning people that don't have a background in this type of field, the field of energetics, go total horse rubbish, right? But quantum biofeedback is actually
science.
Reading. And the best way to explain it is some days you feel great, you have a good mood. Other days you don't feel great. Your body is made up of trillions of cells, all of which have some form of electrical charge. And quantum biofeedback reads the electrical charge, if you will, of all of those cells, and it provides a score from what we call a stress level. Okay. Is it good energy? Is it low energy? And from that, we can identify what is out of balance. And I want to be really clear here, Dr. Mike.
Yeah.
Quantum biofeedback is not diagnosing like you would go to a doctor. It's not treating, it's not curing. It's literally reading energy. But dis-ease leads to disease. I didn't wake up one morning if I'm someone with an ulcer and I went from nothing to an ulcer. No. I went from stress.
Yep.
And then I went to an acid stomach. And then I went to tissue starting to deteriorate. And then I had an ulcer. So it started a dis-ease of the cellular vitality or way before physical manifestation. So quantum biofeedback is nothing more than taking someone that wants to know what's out of balance in my body, and reading those things and then saying to them, hey, you know what? Looks like maybe your level of inflammation is out of balance. Looks like maybe you're stressed. Maybe you're not drinking enough water, blah, 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 blah. That's the big picture. And this type of biofeedback is actually used in many European countries by medical professionals. And in this country, it's typically only used by naturopaths, chiropractors, maybe some osteopaths, but is absolutely not recognized by mainstream medical except biofeedback for pain management. That's it.
Yeah, we don't care about that because vitamin C infusions are not recognized either, you know, and they even cure cancer in other countries. So we don't care about what they recognize, but what we do care about is how it can help people, of course. And when I hear you talking, what I hear is we can see what's out of balance. We get a score. So I assume then we're going to also give them advice on how they can get it back into balance. Do the test again and see if it worked. Correct?
Exactly.
Okay.
Now, let me give you a real life example.
Yeah.
Okay. So first, and I'm not going to use any names, but first of all, let me say this. The average person that comes to our wellness center, these are the words out of their mouth. You know, I've been to every doctor. I've had every test imaginable. They say I'm fine. Everything's within normal range. But I don't have any energy.
I don't feel
I'm
fine.
not sleeping. My digestion's not working. My joints hurt me. Blah, 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 blah. And, they want to put me on 5 prescription medications to practice and see what works, right? So that's the average person that comes in here. What we know with a lot of people is that food, let's just take this as a prime example. Gut health, as you know, is so important.
Sure.
Food is critical to feeding the body the nutrients that it needs. And yet we have so many genetically modified foods and so many foods that are contaminated with pesticides that a lot of people, they have huge digestive issues, which affects their mental clarity, but they've had every test known to man and they're not allergic to anything.
Yeah.
When we bring them in here, we can actually run what's called a panel of every type of food category, and it will come back and it will say, whoa, gluten, you're like
up there,
off the charts, right? And it could be high or low. Either of those, we think of biofeedback like a teeter-totter.
Yeah.
Scores we get on my device go from 0 to 777. About 380 is balanced. If it's super high, it's out of balance. If it's super low, it's out of balance.
Yeah.
1 means that the body's been out of balance for a really long time and it's actually given up.
Yeah.
The other high one says it's out of balance and the body's working really, 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 really hard. Typically, there are some symptoms associated with that. So, for example, let's say someone comes in here and they know that even though there's nothing that showed up on a blood test, that when they eat gluten, they get brain fog, let's just say. Their score will come up as a red. There are other people that say, I'm not having any problem with gluten. I eat gluten all the time. I have no problem. And their score is really, really low. It basically says their body said, I'm not even going to bother fighting. It's like a smoker.
Yeah.
Smoker comes in here, their lungs and respiratory, carbon dioxide, all of that will come up super low.
Yeah.
But if you were in California and you just experienced a wildfire, your respiratory will come up at super high because it's literally
and there's symptoms. There's symptoms when it's high. Yeah.
Exactly.
But so for the listeners, if you don't have any symptoms, that doesn't mean nothing's wrong. You still can be totally out of balance and you are set up for some major symptoms later.
Absolutely. And, again, I'm not a doctor, but I have had people come into our offices and, we go through the whole body systems and then we start drilling down into specific things. And I can remember very clearly this one woman came in. She came in off of referral, which means that she wasn't necessarily sold on it. Everything I would talk to her about, no. And the one thing that came up for her were kidneys, urinary tract, all of these things that were saying way out of balance, just way out of balance. And of course, it's not a diagnosis tool. So you ask questions. Is there anything going on? Have you had any urinary tract infections? Have you had this? Have you had that? Have you had this? No. And I mean, I said to her at the end, look, maybe you shouldn't even pay me because I don't think this has been of value.
Yeah.
And anyway, she calls me 3 months later. And she says, you jinxed me. I jinxed you? What are you talking about? She says, I got a UTI.
It was common. Yeah.
And she's like, well, you asked me that question 3 months ago. I'm like, well, your hydration was off, your kidneys, function in terms of cellular energy was off, everything energetically was off. So disease ultimately leads to manifestation of something.
To me, for now, because I didn't know much about it, to be honest, Casey, to me, for now, it sounds like a great preventative too, because I feel I'm in great health, but this would tell me where I'm going and try to balance myself before something happens.
Look, I run myself at least 3 times a week. I hook myself up, run myself on the device. Sometimes it's just I'm emotionally out of balance. Sometimes I'm mentally out of balance. Sometimes I'm physically out of balance. And the cool thing about it is that I can then say, oh, that's interesting. Maybe my serotonin levels and it can get very, very specific in terms of energies, right? And so I literally will say, okay, what do I need to go meditate. I need to drink more water. I need to stop, I've been a little naughty about gluten or something that's inflammatory. Okay, clean up my diet a little bit more. So it's amazingly accurate.
Very good. Now, how did you, because you said you were an attorney, you lived in Washington, D.C., but you like the outdoors, right? You like the outdoors, which is good. So no passion for being an attorney after all. But how did you get into this bioenergy space? What's the story behind that? Because I see you're so passionate about this. So how did you get into it?
Yeah, and it's interesting because if anybody had ever told me, even 12 years ago, you're going to be talking about frequency medicine, bioenergetics, I would have said, just send them to the loony bin now, right? I mean, so, I've been in fitness and wellness my entire life, but I'm on the business side. Yeah. So I've been all over the world, and 10 years ago now, I had been dealing with a really bad low back. Okay. And been a competitive athlete my whole life, just beat it up, Sure. And I was at yoga one day, and literally the next day, I could not get out of bed. Literally. Tears down my face. Called my dad. Of course, he was such a smart aleck. Always was criticizing me and my fitness stuff. And I can remember him coming up to my bedroom and looking over my bed and going, how's that fitness shit working out for you now? Anyway, long story short, they wanted to basically do some spinal surgery. Totally L4, L5, compressed bulging degenerative, whole 9 yards. And I said, no, I'm good. I'm going to take door C. I'm going to wait. I think I can, fix this through other means. And about 2 months later, I was speaking in Australia, walking a trade show floor, the biggest one in Australasia area, and I came across a booth that was selling essential oils. Yeah. And this guy was talking about the amazing impact that peppermint has on muscular issues. Mm-hmm. And I literally stopped and I was laughing at it. No joke. Because as a surgeon, right? I'm like, yeah, right. That can help with this and that and this and that. Are you kidding me? This is where they get snake oil salespeople from. That's how everybody reacts when they don't know anything about. Exactly. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Anyway, put some oils on my back, and I've been taking 6 to 8 ibuprofen a day from the time of my rib problem. And within 3 minutes, you felt the difference. It was crazy. It was like crazy. And so I started to use essential oil and essential oil products. And then 2 weeks later, it just happened. And, oh, by the way, they hooked me up to go, this is the trigger. I get sidetracked. They hooked me up to a machine. Now, they didn't know me from anybody. You're in Australia. You're in Australia, yeah. Okay. They said, what's your name? What's your birth date? Where were you born? They hooked me up to some tethers. Yeah. They left me alone. The woman comes back. I hadn't said anything to them at this point. And she goes, wow, what's going on with your low back? Yeah. Then she says, interesting. Looks like you've got some stress in your right knee. How do they know that? Yeah. And then I'm curious, do you have any thyroid issues in your family history? Your thyroid's really out of balance. Well, my mom and my sister were hypothyroid, right? So it was just like, and this went on right on 25 minutes. And I was like, I'm I'm in a bad sci-fi movie and I'm the key person. Like, wow. So 2 years later, they came to America, ended up showing up at my house, and they had the magic machine, is what I call it.
Yeah.
Anyway,
and that's how you got into it, for sure.
And we ended up buying our first biofeedback machine back in 2011.
Yeah. Now, if I were a potential customer and came to you, can you explain to me exactly how a session of biofeedback would go for me, and what it, and I already know what it would tell me, right, with the energies, but how would a general session look like?
Yeah, so a full reading, right? Because we can do quick readings with people that take 20 or 25 minutes, but that's more if we're at some sort of event where there's not a lot of quiet places.
Okay.
But normal session, believe it or not, lasts about 9 minutes.
Wow.
It's not a short thing because it takes time to go through each body system. So the person comes in, they sit down, they read, we give them a brief overview. Of course, they sign a normal disclaimer because we're not making any medical claims. And then we hook them up to wrist tethers. We enter their name and their birth date. We then take a photograph of them, which is actually measuring the energy field around them.
It, yeah.
Doing their photograph. And we take a voice signature. So they have to give us a voice signature with a very specific statement.
Okay.
And same. So it's like a lie detector test, like curling photography, and like traditional biofeedback. All those things go into the computer, and then it gives us on the screen 3 different areas of the body: energetically, mentally, and physically.
Okay.
And then within each of those categories, we can drill down. We can drill down into digestion. We can drill down into cardiovascular, or we can drill down into environmental issues, et cetera, et cetera. So we work with them, and we go through this process, and there's no easy way to do it. It's the good old-fashioned, let's sit down and talk about it.
Yeah.
Now, I might put digestion as the #1 stress marker, and then I ask questions. And this is where the people that maybe aren't so open to it, where they say, oh, you've got to ask me questions, right? Well, doesn't the doctor ask you questions too, right? You know? So I can do a completely blind reading with someone, and there are people that I do that with. I say to them, I don't want you to tell me anything. I'm going to finish my reading. Just sit there with your eyes closed, and in about 40 minutes, I'm going to come back and give you my belief as what's showing up and my just personal
interpretation,
let's say, opinion about it.
Yeah.
And then I'll start asking you questions, because if someone is really cynical or skeptical,
then they think they
I
got it.
don't want to ask them a thing, because I want them to go, oh my gosh, just like I did the first time I had it done. So that's what happens. But typically there's some back and forth, and I'll say, you know, digestion is your #1 stressor. Would you say that's appropriate? Yes. Would you like me to look into food sensitivities energetically, or blah, 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 blah. So we kind of go
So you
back
go
and
down the
forth.
rabbit hole.
And then, exactly. And, you know, some people are like, this is extraordinary, you know, have to know that. Like, for example, I can remember when I did Tasso, our mutual friend Tasso. It showed up that Tasso was not having a good sleep. He was getting sleep, but not a good sleep. And it showed up, the stress marker was the pineal gland, or light, not having total darkness. So believe it or not, that's a term for that, but it's called sleep hygiene.
Yeah.
And he said to me, no, my room's dark. I've got shade. He calls me 2 days later. He's like, damn, I was mad. Why? He says, because I closed my eyes for 5 minutes the other night, and then I opened them up, and my room is lit up even with shades.
Yeah.
And he's
there it is.
to get blockers.
Pretty impressive.
Anyway, so just little things like that, but that's how it happened.
Now, once you have your scores, your readings, and you know which systems are out of balance, what are the different recommendations or therapies or things that you suggest for them to get back in balance? Of course, it depends on what system, but what are the main therapies that you suggest?
Well, all of it is lifestyle related. So food choices, drink choices, exercise choices, things of that nature. And believe it or not, the biofeedback device also gives us a score for the possible changes. So there's a energy rating section for each system. There's a lifestyle, and then there's a support. So people that only want lifestyle changes, it might come in and it will say, use darkening shades. Remove noise, or use white noise. Or it might say, use an eye mask. It might say, possible addition of melatonin or blue light blockers, or it will come back and it will give you these very specific things. It might say reduce temperature of the room.
Wow.
It might say, sleep naked. I mean, it gives you all of these things that are like, wow, that's really interesting. And it scores them. A high score means that making that adjustment will most likely give you some quick
results.
Benefits.
Yeah.
A low score means this has been an energetic problem for a long time, and you might have to do it for 6 or 12 months before you'll even see any benefit.
Yeah.
So we try to give people a mixture of these because everybody needs to have some immediate.
They don't want to wait 12 months, no.
Exactly. And then on the support, these are nutritional products that we believe are beneficial to this person. And it could be an antioxidant beverage, it could be an aromatherapy, it could be a supplement, it could be any number of things. And some people don't want that done.
Yeah.
Some people don't want it. They say, nope, I only want lifestyle factors.
That's fine.
Right, no problem.
Yeah.
I'm a big believer in supplementation because I don't think we get what we need from the food sources. Even if you are clean, I don't think you can.
No, and I tell people that all the time, because there's people that eat wholesome organic foods all the time. But what they don't realize is that even if you get them from, the farmer's market or from the organic section in the health food store, there's a time that lapses between harvesting and consumption. And during that time, a lot of nutrients are lost. For example, asparagus loses 90% of its vitamin C in just 1 week. So that's why we need high quality supplements. So I agree with you there. Now, to our viewers, I'm sure for a lot of them, it sounds like an episode of Star Trek, right? There's a lot of things like, how does this happen? And how does the computer then tell me what I need to do? So explain a little bit on what the science is behind all of this.
Yeah. Well, the science is that you are an energetic being. A healthy human body will range, if it's measured, between 62 and 66 hertz.
Okay.
I'm healthy and I'm good, I'm strong. I'm between 62 and 66 hertz. When I get down to 58 hertz, I'm opened up energetically. I think of it like Luke Skywalker. You got this shield around you, and when your energy, your saber strong, you're fighting off everything.
Capacity.
When your energy, because of stress, because of lack of sleep, because of poor diet, because of toxins, starts to drop and it gets to 58, you are now susceptible to colds and flus.
Sure.
When it gets down to 55, you're susceptible to things like candida. When it gets down to 52, you're starting to be susceptible to things like autoimmune, Epstein-Barr, polymyalgia, things of that nature. And when you get down to 45, we know that the human body becomes open to cancer propagation. And I say it because you and I right now both have cancer cells in our body.
Sure.
We have parasites, we have virus, we have bacteria, we have cancer, we have it all. But our vibrational energy will determine whether our body can keep those things in homeostasis or balance.
Yes.
Okay? So, quantum biofeedback is literally saying, okay, your body is frequency, but every single cell actually vibrates at its own slightly different energetic frequency.
Yeah.
And I'll take a little tiny diversion here. If your listeners want to go do real research on Royal Rife, R-I-F-E, this guy back in the 1930s created a frequency machine called a Rife machine, where under a microscope that has still never been replicated by mankind, he could show you that by tuning in to a certain frequency, and again, either having it on the wrist or using a special light therapy, putting the body underneath that particular frequency under a microscope, he could watch cancer cells, virus, and bacteria shatter just like a glass to a certain note. And so when we talk about this and we say, and he had thousands of frequencies that were dialed in. Anybody that does their research, and I personally have a Rife machine here for my own personal use and understanding of my energetic frequency. I don't use it to trick anything. I just use it to give me good vibes, if you anyway, when we look at the energetic frequency of every cell in your body, basically what we're saying is that we can measure the cellular health or frequency of each of those things, and that gives you a roadmap to how to make lifestyle changes. It really, for people that want something a little more substantive, if you would, muscle testing, kinesiology.
Yes.
If you can take someone and you put their arm out and it presses down on it, you get a certain energy or strength. Then you take and you put a good antioxidant beverage in their hand and put their arm out, their arm will probably be stronger. Then you take a soda like this.
I've experienced it, yes.
And you're like,
what?
Come on, right? That's crazy. But we did it over and over and over again. There are many practitioners way back in time, centuries ago, that use muscle testing to figure out. You can go to an old-fashioned dentist and they'll go,
which one?
And they'll be able to tell you which tooth is bad. Long before x-rays were available. Okay? So quantum biofeedback is in essence a very advanced form of muscle testing.
No, and I agree. And again, regular people, regular healthcare professionals, they all think this is quackery. But like you said, just like acupuncture and herbal medicine, it's dated thousands of years back, number one. But even today, Casey, there's more and more research done in this bioenergy field, like really scientific studies, peer-reviewed studies. Even Joe Dispenza, you probably know his name. That does a lot of meditation and stuff. He's trying to really quantify and does the science and read the brains and things like that. I personally have a few plaques in my brain. I don't have any symptoms, but I'm concerned about it because every few years they increase in size. It's not Alzheimer's, it's not MS, nobody knows. But there have been studies done on rats, for example, that by using certain frequencies in rats, they cure Alzheimer's because it breaks it down. It's like a vibration, right? So, I mean, there's plenty of research out there. The problem is they don't want to look at it, right? They want to stick with their surgeries and medicines. They don't want to go out of their way and see the actual research in this field. Do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, because here's the deal. Okay, so in 2016, GlaxoSmithKline, one of the world's largest pharmaceutical companies, and Google Health Sciences, okay, which is a division of Google, formed a partnership to create a company to research and develop frequencies to treat and or cure disease.
Yeah.
Called bioenergetics or bioenergy medicine.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, those companies are using frequency to deliver a drug. For example, what's a diabetic pump?
Yeah.
That is a frequency device, and it falls into a category called electroceuticals. So first there was pharmaceuticals, then there was nutraceuticals, and now electroceuticals. So this pump in your arm reads your insulin level and triggers the release of the insulin without you having to prick your finger.
No blood test, just an energetic reading, period.
Exactly.
Yeah.
A bioenergetic signature of your glucose. Okay?
Yeah.
So, fast forward to November 4th, Time Magazine 2019, cover article about bioenergetic medicine, specifically talking about therapies that are using some sort of electrical signal to deliver medication more effectively to the body.
Yes, sure.
So, yes, okay, most people think it's quackery, especially when you start saying we're going to read the energetic cellular frequency, right?
Yes.
But I'm telling you right now, long after you and I are dead, this is going to be just so mainstream. It literally is going to be like a thing out of Star Trek where you will walk through something and they'll go,
yeah,
and then we'll go, you're fixed. Go.
No, I agree with you. That's where it's going for sure. Now, I know you're also the Northeast Regional Director for Beamer USA, and I just happen to know what the Beamer is because over the last 2.5 years, every time I go to a workout with Tasso, after 30, 40 minutes, I'm totally empty. I can't even walk out of the gym to my car. I need to rest anyways, but instead of laying me just on the bed, he lays me on the Beamer. Now, is the Beamer a type of biofeedback or a frequency energy device? Explain what the Beamer is.
Yeah, so a Beamer is a medical device from Europe. It's a German-engineered swift craftsmanship, and it stands for Bioelectromagnetic Energy Regulation. That's what the acronym is. And so Beamer is an electroceutical. It's been around now for 22 years. And basically what it's saying is that by utilizing a particular frequency range delivered to the body by simply laying on something for 8 minutes, that frequency stimulates a process called vasomotion, which is blood flow to the capillary. I'm giving you a very brief overview, but yes, Beamer is an electroceutical, and it is specifically targeting the mechanism of microcirculation using a range of frequency.
No, and
a very patented signal and delivery configuration.
Oh, excellent. I know for the fact that more and more professional athletes are using it mostly to recover. That's why Tasso puts me on it right after the workout, so I recover much faster. Even on my day days off, he says if you have, up to 20 minutes, come by, lay on the mat, because it's about recovery and getting ready for your next workout.
Yep, exactly. And, I don't want to go down that rabbit hole too much, but
sure,
because it's really bioenergetics here. But think about it. Without blood flow, you got nothing, right? What most people don't know, and I didn't know until someone introduced me to this device, and of course I completely thought it was total garbage.
That's what I thought the first time somebody explained it to me.
Right? And I did lots and lots of research on it because I was buying it for my mother, not me, actually. But, what I know is that when I look at my circulatory system, 74% of my vessels are microvessels that are smaller in diameter than a strand of hair. And this is the big aha, blood flow to those vessels is not controlled by your heartbeat or your respiratory rate.
Energetic.
It's a completely independent movement called vasomotion, where 3 to 5 times a minute your little gateways to those vessels called arterioles and venules actually trigger. And that is an electrical impulse in the body. Trigger to push blood off of the arteries into the capillaries and then back out through the venous return. As we age, that goes down, which is why we start to get these little things here. Okay?
Look at you.
Yeah, not bad for 56, right?
No, not at all.
56, yeah. But metabolic disorders, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, diabetes plummeted, which is why diabetics get
neuropathy.
And the number one interrupter of that whole electrical currency or field is stress.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So basically, Beamer helps to re-regulate and support microcirculation 8 minutes twice a day. If you own it, if you go to a club like Tasso's, you can utilize it as part of some sort of add-on to your membership.
Yeah, sure. No, excellent. And I can see how beneficial it could be for people with really circulatory problems. Let's think peripheral neuropathy, PAD, arterial disease. It's those type of people that are not exposed to this, but it really could help them slow down the progression of their diseases for sure, or even return and reverse it. You talked a little bit about the essential oils and how you got into this. I also know that you are a proponent of a antioxidant drink that I used to drink, and I loved it because it tastes so good. And the reason why I used to drink it, because the ORAC value of the antioxidant drink was 100,000, and you're still a proponent of that. You probably drink it yourself. Tell us a little bit about that very unique drink, I would say.
It is. It's a company called Young Living. And I'm sure that your listeners can find somebody that has it, that is a direct selling company. And I order it online every single month. But ORAC stands for Oxidative Reactive Absorption Capacity. And basically what that means is how quickly can the antioxidant value of that nutrition get into the cell, okay, and be absorbed. Blueberries are around 2,000. I think apricots are around 3,500. Goji berries are 3,800. But this particular drink does utilize essential oils in addition to the goji berry, and the ORAC value is 100,000.
Wow! So you would have to eat a whole basket of fruits and vegetables to even come close to that, right?
Absolutely, 2 ounces of it, and it's low on the glycemic index, so it's safe for people that are dealing with sugar regulation issues. So, I believe, and when I had my weight loss centers, Healthy Inspirations, we had 3 fundamental pillars. Eat grocery store food, real food.
Yeah, right? Real food.
Out of the box. Exercise regularly, and stress management.
Yeah.
Those were the 3 primary components, and they still are today. Where we've taken it since then is understanding at a deeper level, hey, you know what, if you want good health, you gotta understand some fundamental principles about the energetic frequency of the body, and why I am a proponent and personally use, essential oils. Like one of my favorites, Clarity.
Yeah.
I use it in my office and I diffuse it because what that does is that helps support a frequency. Every essential oil has a frequency. So I love them. We use them right here in my wellness center where I have 4 beamers.
Yeah.
Just people love the smell of it. They say, oh, it always smells so nice in here. So everything works collectively, and it all starts with a good, healthy body and energetic frequency.
Great. Now, tell us a little bit. You wrote 7 books. What are those books about?
Well, people are going to be like, is she a split personality? Because they are all over the place. Let's start with the beginning books. Most of my books, starting in 1992, were on the business operation of a fitness facility. Okay.
Yeah.
So I have selling fitness, selling personal training, internet marketing for health and fitness clubs, hidden profits. All of those were completely fitness related.
Okay.
However, when I had my weight loss centers, I wrote a book called Winning the Struggle to Be Thin. And it was all about, just like what we're talking about today, exercise, eating real food, et cetera, et cetera. But it took a slightly different angle. My belief is that obesity or weight challenges is actually harder to overcome than alcoholism.
Yeah.
Because food addiction is real.
Oh, we all are addicted to food. It's just not recognized as such. I'm addicted to food. I gotta make efforts every day. Every day we gotta make efforts. Absolutely.
And we can say I'm not gonna ever have an alcoholic drink. I'm never gonna have a cigarette. I'm never gonna have a drug, right? But you can't say I'm never gonna
eat again. Yeah.
Every day, at least twice. For most people, 3 times a day. Temptation is right in front of your face. So anyway, so I wrote that book, and it was also filled with wonderful success stories. At that time, I had, I think, 68 locations for our weight loss center, and we had wonderful stories all throughout the book. I took that whole process psychologically. But then my most recent book was called Vibrant Health Now. And it really is talking about
vibration frequency,
energetic things that we're talking about.
Where can listeners find that book?
What?
Where can listeners or viewers today find that book?
Right on Amazon. Just Casey
So it's
Conrad,
called Vibrant Health
Now. You find that book. We still sell, lots of copies of that, either by Kindle or, electronically or in a print form.
So Vibrant Health Now. Okay, excellent. Now, how can people find a biofeedback practitioner in their area? Because you're in Rhode Island.
I'm in Rhode Island, absolutely. So, one of the things that they can do, of course, is go right to Google and look for biofeedback practitioner.
Okay.
I'm going to be very, very transparent and say that you're probably going to need to put a call out on Facebook and ask if somebody that does quantum biofeedback.
Because that's your specialty, yes.
Exactly. No one is going to go out there and advertise it because they'll get ostracized. And so it's best to get a recommendation from somebody. Certainly, look, I could probably, if people wanted to reach out to me, I could probably help them find a practitioner. I have a network of practitioners that we refer people to. There's no financial gain for us to do that. We just want to let people
get it out there. Yes. Now, where can people contact you then, Casey? Do you have a website?
Well, we have our Wellness Energy Center on Google. But the best thing to do is to just reach out to me directly. And my email is Casey Conrad and then the number 11@gmail.com. Super easy.
Casey Conrad, Casey, Conrad, CONRAD, number 11 at gmail.com.
Yep.
That's how you can get in contact with Casey. Casey, anything else that you want to share with the viewers today?
If you're already into energetic medicine, whether it be Reiki or acupuncture or anything like that, this is all probably like cool. The next step. If you're new to this conversation and you're still listening,
probably not.
it means your mind is open. And I would just say to people, be open to the possibilities.
Yes.
There's so much that we don't know, and I don't want to get on a soapbox, but I really believe that we have watched deterioration of the health of this country, which ranks 37th and 45th between illness and longevity, right? We're the sickest
world,
and
yep.
we live almost the shortest lives compared to any other Western
civilized
country.
Yeah.
Because we have become a pill for an ill society. We want an instant fix. Look at the advertisements on television.
Sure.
And I say to people, there's a better way. Yes, you have to take personal responsibility for it. But go down the rabbit hole of these alternative, I like to call them primary.
They are primary. Yeah, they were there first.
Right?
We were there first.
Yeah. And be open to it, because if you really want optimal health, I'm 56 and I feel better today than I did at 40. And I've been not my whole life. But I didn't realize that there were things that were out of balance energetically that would have, like my back, that would have caught up to me had I not been doing things proactively. So just be open.
No, and again, it's like the other thing people don't really get, I think, is these therapies, they cannot harm you. So worst case scenario, you don't benefit, but no harm is done. With Western medicine, drugs, injections, especially steroids, surgeries, people are mutilated afterwards. They usually end up worse after. So worst case scenario here, no harm done. Would you agree?
Exactly. Yeah. Absolutely. Which is why I've had 3 stem cell surgeries in my adult life, right?
There you go.
And I spend a lot of money every month on supplements. I get a massage every week.
Yeah.
I go to the colon therapist once a month. I do all these things, and people go, spend so much money. And I say, look at me. I'm fit. I'm healthy. I live life. I can do anything.
And you work 24/7 too, and you still have energy. You work 24/7 too. Being a great advocate for health and wellness.
I say pay now or pay later, Dr. Mike. Pay now.
Well, no, they pay for their co-pays. They pay for the doctor visit co-pays of medicine. If you would spend that money on preventing and staying healthy, it's just redirecting your spending. That's all.
Exactly.
All right.
Exactly.
Casey, thank you so much for taking the time, because I know that you serve between one webinar and the next, right? So we really appreciate your time today. And listeners, always choose health freedom. Give me 1 minute and we're going to